This is our town, the place we call home.
Welcome to This Is Our Town with Jeff Yorkie, a local public affairs presentation on MonroeCountyRadio.com.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of This Is Our Town. And, I hope everybody made it through last week with all the flooding and everything else that was going on. I know it was a kind of a rough period of time over in the beaches, and hopefully everybody made it through that okay. But today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to change gears a little bit. I know a lot of people. A couple weeks ago, we had we had a little discussion about heading out of town. But this week, we're going to talk about bringing tourists into Monroe County. Because as you all know, this is a great place to be, and we have a brand new, I don't know what to call him. I was going to call him the new president of the Tourism Bureau, but he doesn't want to be called president. He wants to be called, what do you want to be called, Matt?
Executive Director.
Executive Director. Okay. I was going to say czar or no?
No.
That's way, no?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. I was heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
All right. I got it. All right, Matt Zook. Matt Zook, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well,
great having you.
Yeah,
so,
thanks,
Matt,
Jeff.
you are bringing with you a huge variety of experience in this field, the field of tourism, for one. And you've been all over the country, right? Well, not just this country, all over North America.
I have been all over. Actually, I went to school in 3 countries in North America.
3 countries?
Yeah.
I know Canada and Mexico.
And U.S.
And the U.S. Where'd you go in the U.S.?
Well, I went to school from the time I was about 2 to 12. I lived in Grosse Ile, so not too far from here.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, so were you born here?
I was born in
South Bend, Indiana.
Yep.
And then you end up in
we lived there all of 6 weeks before we moved to Bowling Green, Ohio, where my father did his master's in education. He was a math teacher. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, you end up in where did you say you went to school? High school or grade school?
I went to school in Grosse Ile, Michigan.
Grosse Ile.
Yep.
Grosse Ile.
Yep.
And then from there, you went
Traverse City.
Oh yeah, Traverse City.
Yeah, and then a few other places.
So you've been all man.
Yeah.
Sure,
My stepfather was
like,
from Sault Ste. Marie, so.
Oh yeah. And then you went to school in Canada.
I did.
I went to
Laurentian University, which is in Sudbury. I went to Algoma University, which at that time was a branch of Laurentian University. And Algoma's in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
Okay.
And what had happened was I had originally gone to school at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, but I didn't finish my degree. And when I decided to go back, I was living in Sault Ste. Marie, and I knew there was one university there, Lake Superior State, and someone said, you should check out the university across the way there. So I went and checked it out, and they gave me reciprocity, so I didn't have to pay international fees, and it was $1,100 a semester cheaper than Lake State, so that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and that's...
And they did teach you how to speak Canadian. Apparently,
they did. I
can see it. I can hear it a little bit.
That might be. Some people can't tell the difference between the UP and because actually a Canadian asked me a few months ago. She said, "Are you from Canada or the UP?" So
and you said, "Well, depends, eh?" Right.
I said, "Yeah, my name's spelled Z-O-O-K." So there you go.
So you've been now, and that's Canada, the U.S. Now you went to a music school in Mexico, right?
I did.
Did I
I studied in Morelia, Michoacan, which is in central Mexico. It was the first music school of the Americas.
Are you Canadian? Are you a Youper, or are you Hispanic? What the heck?
Well,
you can roll your R's. Can you roll your R's in Canadian?
I don't know about in Canadian, but I can go ere, right? So in Spanish, you have one touch, which is ere, right? And then and then you trill it a little bit, but not too hard.
Not too hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then it's
so what did you now? And what did you study down there?
I just studied classical guitar.
Classical guitar.
Yeah. I just was studying performance. I didn't finish. Had some things happen. My mother was living in Florida at the time and said she needed me to come home, so I came home and So that was that. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
never went back to Mexico.
Do you use that now? That skill?
I still play.
You play in a band, or how does that? Or you just play?
I play
at home.
I play with some guys that they asked me to play bass guitar in their band, and it's a bunch of guys that used to play in bands, but now they all have careers and other things.
Right.
And when they asked me, I thought, are they going to be real loud and not that good? But they were actually really good.
Yeah.
And they just needed a bass player, and I play bass too. So I just got my bass all set up. I have an old Jap copy P bass that I can never get rid of. It just plays great.
Cool.
I like it.
All right, so you bring all of this stuff to your new position as executive director of the Tourism Bureau here in Monroe.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit. Now, you've been in this capacity, or sort of in this capacity. You've worked in Sault Ste. Marie, right?
Orlando. Yeah, I worked in
Okay, I don't know
Orlando
about
for
that.
about 8 years in resort sales and things like that. So,
Okay. When Orlando? When was that?
I was in Orlando from 95 to 2003.
So really, I mean, that was a booming
So
time.
I guess that would be 7 years. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, I get it. You're not here for your math wizardry.
No, that's 8 years, 2005 to 2003.
Yeah.
I did leave. I went to work briefly in New York City for a marketing company,
Yeah.
but they seemed to struggle to pay me. So I came back. Kinda
What did
cool.
you do down in Orlando? And the reason I bring that up, I just got back from Orlando, and I got to tell you, that place is one of the fastest growing cities I have seen in the last 20 years. There are high rise. There's construction going on all over the place, and infrastructure growth that, from what I hear, has just been constant for years and years and years. So what were you working on when you were down in Orlando?
I worked mostly resort sales.
Okay.
I did start off in coffee sales. I worked for First Roasters,
Yeah.
Central Florida, and so with that, I started to get in sales.
Yeah, right.
But coffee sales going to go so far.
Well,
It was
especially
commercial.
in the middle of Florida, in the middle of the
Well,
summertime.
It was commercial.
When it's 100 degrees.
Lenny Lamastus was third generation in the coffee business. He was from Panama, but his grandfather was originally from Kentucky and was an engineer who worked on the Panama Canal, married a native Panamanian, and started a coffee plantation.
Yeah.
But he'd send his kids to Florida, to I believe Stetson University,
Yeah.
to get their bachelor's degree. And so Lenny, who was his grandson, came on up and started the business there.
And that's how so
I
how
learned,
did you
I
catch up
learned,
with
I
those
learned all
guys?
kinds of things about coffee. I learned how to make it so many different ways. But also Lenny would have tasting things, so we could tell where the bean was from.
Really?
As long as it's not dark roast, you can tell. Once you dark roast, you burn the bean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all you taste is really burnt coffee. And that's how Starbucks kind of marketed it, because they could control inventory, because it was always going to taste the same.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, hey, some people love that. My daughter, my wife, they can't get enough of that stuff.
I like
don't
coffee.
understand it.
Coffee's great.
I do too, just not burnt.
We have a local roaster here, right? So
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
So from Orlando, you go to New York City, and then they don't pay you, so you leave. What were you doing in New York City
I
before
worked
you
for
left
a
there?
marketing company that was it was based in China. So I worked there. I was the only American working in that office, and they didn't realize that I'd be really aggressive to get sales. And so what happened was I don't know if they could pay me or they thought I was going to make too much, but that was what was happening. I was always arguing over the paycheck. So I said, enough of that.
So how long were you there?
I was there for about 6 months, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so from there, where do we go from?
I went
from
back
New York
to
City?
Orlando,
Okay.
and I worked, and that's when I got started in resort sales.
See, that's why 8 years was
Yeah.
only 7 years.
Yeah. So
Because in the middle of that, you were in New York for almost
You could
half
say
a
that.
year. Anyway.
and I ended up eventually working for Hilton Vacation Club. That was in Bay Hills, and I
Yeah.
worked in the main office.
Okay.
And I did sales for them, although it sometimes looked like I was solving problems for them, but really I was a salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my stepfather was a member of the Sioux tribe, so he was Chippewa, and he passed away, and I came up to Sault Ste. Marie and for the funeral, and my stepsister convinced me to stay because my mother was by herself, and I liked it. I was having a good time. I got a job with the Sulak Boat Tours, and season ended. I went back to Florida.
Now, how far was that from where you went to school? Or is that when you went to school?
I went to school when I came back. So
When
I
you
went
came
back.
back.
I went
Okay.
back to Florida, started working, and said, I want to be back in Michigan. So I moved up to the Sioux and went to work for the Sulak Boat Tours, and
You worked there for quite a while, too, right?
12 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And I worked for a division they had called Attraction Marketing Services, which was the tourism brochure business.
Okay.
Yeah, and I eventually was the
So that kind
operation
of cut your
manager for
teeth
that.
in the tourism area, right?
Well, no, actually, working in Orlando really started it. So
Sure.
yeah, I even had a part-time job working at Universal Studios when I was in
Did
Orlando.
you really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of funny because everyone wants to have a part-time job at one of the amusement parks because you get free tickets for everyone, and
Of
you get to go
course.
for free. And I did banquets, but even when you're part-time, they like you and they'll work you a lot. And I was actually making more money in the summertime with those
Oh,
banquets.
no kidding.
It was kind of
yeah.
crazy, but yeah, it was fun. But it's still, that's part of tourism.
Okay. So we were talking before the show started, and somehow you ended up in Minnesota. When the heck
That was
did that
before.
happen?
That was when I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Minnesota. I say it right, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
A friend of mine invited me to come there for a May Day celebration, and there's three of us that went for that.
a
And
May Day celebration.
yeah, May Day. They have this Heart of the Beast celebration, and they have these big puppets, and
What?
I know.
You know,
And so
I always knew people from Minnesota were weird. I'm from Wisconsin. I can say that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I went to
You can
school
tell-
in Wisconsin
yeah,
too, high
yeah.
school. But yeah, where in
What's a high-
Wisconsin are you from?
I'm from just northwest of Milwaukee.
Okay, so my sister Sally was the Wisconsin State 2-mile champion,
Oh, yeah?
but she was also the Michigan State 2-mile champion when she was a sophomore at Traverse City.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
So where did you go to school in Wisconsin?
I went to Monona Grove, outside
Monona
of Madison.
Grove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And and we went briefly to Jefferson. She went to Jefferson and graduated from there. Yeah.
That's a beautiful area.
And-
Beautiful.
My sister is my other sister, Genevieve. She is in Madison, Wisconsin. She works for the University of Wisconsin Law School.
Oh, I can
You might
appreciate that.
read her
Yeah.
things in journals and
There
stuff.
you go.
And she's a legal librarian.
Oh, yeah?
And
Nice.
yeah. And so actually, my nieces were just over here. One of them's considering University of Michigan.
Nice.
So
So, okay. So here's what we got covered for you. We got Minnesota. We got Wisconsin. We got Indiana. We got Ohio. And we got Michigan. And then we got Ontario, right?
and we
So-
have Ontario. We have
keep
also
going.
St. John's, Newfoundland.
Oh, Newfoundland. Okay.
Yep. I lived
Anything
there.
else? Iowa.
New York
You been to
City.
Iowa, Illinois. Any place else in the Midwest that we should know about?
No.
Now, it sounds to me, Matt, like what we could really, the reason that you got this position is that you know so many people from outside of Monroe that you can just invite friends and family here and we'll have a booming tourism
That's how
business.
it works. Really, that's my job is to market people outside of this. I mean, in two folds. One is within a short distance and regional area, but they're going to come here and bring money and spend money.
Right.
The second is to get them to drive from 3 hours out because we know they're going to stay
Yeah.
and spend money.
Right.
And this town not just town, but this whole county offers just some great places.
Yeah, so Matt, tell me-
undiscovered.
I agree.
Really
and
undiscovered.
I know that I've learned that over the last 20 some years that I've lived here. There's a ton of history here. There's a ton of culture here. This is really a fascinating community. Period.
It is.
What just semi-serious here. What do you intend to do? What's your plan to try to boost to the tourism industry here in this area?
So, my plan begins at basically having that people have a voice into this actual industry. And it started before I took the job. It started with a strategic plan that was brought together with the board and a consulting group called Superior Hospitality. They did a wonderful job. They asked people out in the community, like economic development people and things like this, to come together and put together this strategic plan as to what we need to do, what needs to be done, what hasn't been done. And so that's part of my job, is to make sure that the goals of that strategic plan are met.
Right.
And that also includes bringing people in. And I was just talking, I've been out there trying to put together a marketing committee.
Right.
And
that's where the marketing background that you have is so integral, right?
Yeah.
And
yep.
and
but
you know,
it's not just my ideas of marketing. It's going to be other people brought into this committee so that we have a kind of, I wouldn't say a consensus plan, but more brains working on one idea to make it happen.
Sure.
So.
And some of the ideas that you had included, and I don't know if you can talk about this, but working with the community college.
Well,
right?
I hope I've mentioned that, and it's in the works here, is to why farm out all your social media stuff?
Yeah.
Why not involve the community college so you students get hands-on training, and we get people that are working actually in tourism.
Right.
And it might.
Matt, that's
future
one of
leaders out of that.
Right,
so,
man,
right?
I'm going to tell you, Matt, that is one of the things you're going to learn about this community, is that community college really gives back in a big way.
I've already seen
to this town, and it is great in this county. So I would imagine with your music background that we're going to get some new tourist jingles pretty soon, right?
So I do compose, and I have had some ideas out there.
Yeah. And you want to share with us yet?
Actually, when I was up
even
in
just sort of rough drafts of anything? Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what, I had an idea when I was up in, as you know, I ran the Chamber of Commerce up in Mackinac City. I don't know if you knew that, but anyway.
I did.
And I was involved with the pageant there. Every year I played a British soldier and I got killed. So, but I had this idea to revamp it, and I wanted to change the dialogue, and I also wanted to change. They always told people about what was going to happen, so you kind of expected the massacre at the end.
Right.
I wanted it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to set music to it, so I wrote. I started writing. It starts with a Native American drum group playing, because it was a Native American. It was their day, right?
Right.
The Odawas and whatever. And then it moves into this fort theme that I created. And then with that fort theme, it moves into kind of French and French Métis music, because they're in that occupation. And then it would go to the British coming with the bagpipes, as they did. And then the game of Bagataway, which was it was a forerunner of lacrosse, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they were playing. And they have a quick tune, and then that's when the massacre happens, and all of a sudden it gets dark, and the music makes it, and then
you got Wagner
everyone's
playing
surprised.
or something.
Yeah. Well, no,
Wagner-esque.
Yeah,
No?
you can't have this is original music.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the fort theme and whatever. That was my idea, but
so that never came to fruition.
Well, I don't think people wanted the change. It was too complicated to put that together.
There's plenty of history here.
There is.
You could put to music.
I know. So our office is at the River Asia National Battlefield Welcome and Educational Center.
You guys just moved there recently, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less than a month ago.
Yeah.
Yep. So nice space. Love it. And so there you go.
Well, I got to tell you, Matt, it's great having you here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And as time goes on, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to want to promote. Both locally and nationally. And believe it or not, here on Monroe County Radio, we get a lot of people from outside the community that listen in, people that maybe used to live here or have friends and family that live here. And so it's a great way to get the word out. So
explore Monroe County.
Matt Zook, I want to thank you for being in here, for coming to our town and staying in our town. It's gonna be great having you. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for inviting me, Jeff.
All right.
This is great.
Good. All right. Once again, this is Jeff Yorkie for Matt Zook. Want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Join us every Sunday at noon and Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another edition of This Is Our Town with Jeff Yorkie, a local public affairs presentation of MonroeCountyRadio.com.
This is our town, the place we call home.